Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, late Sunday night, I think a very intriguing piece of news for not only Michigan fans, but more importantly, the Florida Gator fans, as it sounds like the University of Florida is going to be getting a new president, and that is former Michigan president Santa Ono. Now, this still the boys have takes. Like I'm a Michigan fan, but you're a Michigan man. You graduated from Michigan, so I'm sure you have some takes as well. Where I want to start is there's probably a lot of Florida fans that are looking at us and saying, "Why are these idiots talking about school president?" Well, Dill, this is a guy that loves football, and you talk about something that's very important, especially in this era of college football with NIL, rev share coming down the pipeline. Having an administration, having a school president that cares about athletics, that cares about football is huge. Now you're saying, hey, how do you know Santoro cares about football? Dill, look at what he did just going to bat with Jim Harbaugh against the NCAA. There's a lot of presidents out there that wouldn't want to get their hands muddy with that situation. Santoro is not one of those guys. Like was very, very supportive of the Michigan football program as a whole and Jim Harbaugh. This guy cares about Florida. I think it's important for NIL and rev share, but Dill, I also think like you look at 2025. I'm personally very high on Florida in 2025. I think they're going to win a lot of football games. So I don't think we're going to be talking about a new head coaching search in December. It's not out of the question, though. Like if Billy Napier does not maximize this football team in 2025, you're talking about a new coaching search for Florida. Is Scott Strickland going to be the guy to make the hire? He made the Dan Mullen hire, made the Billy Napier hire, doubled down on the Billy Napier hire halfway through the 2024 year. There's a lot of different angles that we have to dive into this, but I want to just kind of sum up that 2-minute intro there with saying, I think this is a president that's going to care about the football program, and I think Florida Gator fans should be excited about that. Now, before we get into it, Dill, I'm going to give you the T-box, I promise. Just want to say, one, thank you to you guys. It's been a blast talking off-season football. I would love to hear from the Florida fans and the Michigan fans in the comment section. I think there are plenty of takes to be had in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I apologize. This should be more your episode than mine here. As a Michigan alum, how are we feeling about this move here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel like Michigan alums should have much ill will for Santa Ono. I mean, he did take Michigan to the mountaintop in that 2023 year. I think you said it, like, had the conviction and the courage and the boldness to kind of like let things play out and lead that program into what was, again, that national championship run. So, again, I think there were some other things not football related that were a little tumultuous for his period at Michigan. So I kind of understand maybe to an extent why there's maybe a new fit or something different, because it was a little chaotic for the past 3 years for him at Michigan. But like, again, at the end of the day, you have a guy who is ride or die for the football program. And again, like Florida's been in a situation now, and if Billy Napier doesn't work out, I think some Florida fans are going to look at like 2 straight hires that maybe were a little bit
Phil, I'll say this.
one big swings.
I kind of agree with you, and I don't know if Scott Strickland's going to get the third chance. You don't
He's almost assuredly not going to get it, because at that point, I think they're going to take a real big crack at it. And they just, again, Billy Napier might be awesome, and that might have been the right hire. And if so, Scott Strickland's obviously going to keep his job, and hopefully Florida has a lot of success. But if he doesn't, you're going to get a lot of questions about Sunbelt Billy. Why didn't we get Lane? Why didn't we go swing for a bigger coach? And I imagine Scott Strickland's not going to get the chance to do it, and Santa Ono is going to put together something where they're going to take a big shot and try to be national championship relevant.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. And I'll be the first one to say, like, I'm a football guy. I can't comment on much of the off the field stuff that went on for President Santa Ono at Michigan, but that's kind of what sounds like what was part of the move, is that I'll say this. As a football guy and not an off the field guy, man, did he have just a wild 3 years in Ann Arbor in terms of the stuff that he had to deal with, whether it was football with all the allegations or non-football related things. Now, I think it opens up a second conversation, and that's still, Billy Napier's hot seat is probably the next question you want to talk about, right? How does this immediately impact Florida? I think, one, you're getting a president that's going to look to maximize rev share, that's going to look to maximize this Florida Gators football program as we get ushered into this new era of college football,
See,
which
but I think that was going to be a given. Like Florida's
agreed.
always going to maximize their rev share.
Well,
They're not one of those
here's
programs
the
that
thing,
isn't
Dill.
gonna.
Here's the thing.
What I think you're almost missing is he kind of galvanized the fan base. I think when
Yeah,
he
okay.
first got to Michigan and he felt excited about being there for those first year or two, and again, it did seem like it trailed off a little bit where he
Yes.
wasn't as engaged with the
Agreed.
Michigan community, let's say, for the last couple of years. When he first got there, I mean, he was really flying the flag. He was engaging everybody. It made you feel excited about the athletics programs again. So I do think like that. Again, Florida's always going to maximize their rev share. Like their school is going to pay what they need to pay. I do think again, as NIL is still going to be a thing, and you still want your fan base to be supportive. I do think that's something in his ability to kind of connect and galvanize the base. I
Yeah.
think he's going to do a really good job.
I'm not gonna lie. I was fired up on many of occasions with what Santa Ono was doing during that national championship run in 2023. So I actually do think that's a very good point. Now, I guess the way to round out this conversation is in the immediate future here, Dale. Let's talk about Billy Napier's job. And it's something we've talked a lot about over the last 18 months, right? In September, we were talking, I was calling for Billy Napier's head. Like the way this program looked every single Saturday is like, there's no pulse. It's just not working. And then they rally the troops in the month of November. I'll ask you this, like what's good enough for maybe Santa Ono is going to have a little bit of a say in this. Like, what should be good enough for Florida in 2025 for Coach Billy Napier to keep his job going into 2026? And it's a
I
hard
think
schedule.
at a minimum you got to win 8, and I don't think, and they don't have an easy schedule. That's why I put that number at 8. I
Yeah,
think if they have a more normal schedule, I think it's probably closer to 9. 8
yeah,
wins, I think he's got to hit. If they go 7-5, I think that's going to be
gone.
really,
Yeah,
really, really tough to give him another year. Because again, this team has the talent. They've given him what he needs, I think, to put together a really good quality team. And to his credit, he's done a
he's
really good job. He's
yeah.
put together a good team. He's retained guys well. He's developed guys pretty well. But again, you've still seen some real blunders with on-field coaching for Billy. If that happens again, yeah, I'd be really surprised if they let him keep his job at 7-5.
I've been very vocal. I'm a huge fan of Billy Napier's roster building. And I think, yeah, maybe it didn't get off to the hottest start that many of us were expecting, but I truly think Billy Napier's built this thing the right way that you're going into year 4. Dill, for me, it's probably 9 wins. It's probably college football playoff berth. Now, if you just miss it, I can see why you ride with Billy in 2026. My idea is this is like if you can't make waves with this roster that you've put together in 2025, are you ever going to make it happen at Florida? Like you have one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country, a super veteran offensive line that returns pretty much everybody you had last year outside your right tackle, difference makers on the outside, a defense that was playing very good football at the end of 2024 and should be a very good defense in 2025. Like, I don't care how hard the schedule is, and I don't think a lot of Florida fans care about the schedule either. Like, look, you're playing in the SEC. Your schedule is going to be hard every single damn year. Now, it might be a little bit harder over the last couple of years, but it's going to be a hard schedule every year. There's no way to run from that. If you can't compete for a national championship with this kind of roster you have, of which I consider a top 10 roster on paper, then I don't know if you're ever going to make it work at Florida. And you're probably looking for a new head coach if you only win 7 games and not really get into that college football playoff
And
conversation.
at that point, I do think you're going to need to take a swing. Like you're going to need to, like when Michigan went and hired Jim
Yes.
Harbaugh, like do something that's a little bit different. Because
Yeah.
again, I feel like they've gone with 2 relatively safe hires for the past 2 cycles. Go take. I think you're going to want to take your shot. I think Santa Ono is coming to Florida to build this football program up. That's almost like feels like hey, he took Michigan to the top. Now he's going to see if he can take Florida to the top and become a legend. And again, I just if Billy Napier doesn't make it happen, I really kind of suspect with Santa Ono coming in that they're going to take a bolder approach to this athletics program than probably you saw in the past few cycles.
Yeah. And look, I outside of the football landscape, I'd be over my skis talking about it. So, and look, Dill, you say this and I say this. I went to Wake Forest, and again, Wake Forest doesn't have the football potential that Michigan and Florida do. But Like, I want a president that cares. And you say this all the time. It's like, give me a president. Like, yes, I care about Michigan as the institution, but I want a damn good football program as well. I think a lot of Florida fans feel the very similar way. I think this is bigger news than most people realize. It's still kind of getting finalized, but it sounds like this is going to happen. This is good for the Florida Gators football program. I think no question about it. Michigan fans, let it fly. Florida fans, let it fly. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.